Our world is full of mean and evil people. But in Autry County, we got somebody that puts bad guys behind bars, and that's Jimmy Richardson, my friend. Also, what I love about Jimmy is, if you look up somebody, what's an Autry County man? Jimmy Richardson's your man. Jimmy, thank you for being on with us. I can't wait to dig into your story a little bit.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you, just right off the bat, thank you for being a friend to Autry County and putting bad guys behind bars, you know. So I'm going to start early on. Tell me about Jimmy, like growing up and how you got started and your thoughts early on and all that kind of good stuff.
I grew up in the Baker's Chapel community. Still go to church there. My mom worked with probation and parole. She had like 30 years in that before she retired in 1996. My dad was a UPS driver. Big family. My dad's side of the family's in Dog Bluff. My mom's side is where we built, or where I grew up at Baker's Chapel, but right across the street, you know, that between Baker's Chapel and Salem. Mm-hmm. And went to Aner High School. The worst part of that was my next door neighbor was the bus driver. And man, that is awful, because you're the first one on, maybe excluding her, and the last one off. That is a long ride.
Long rides.
Yeah. Went to school at Aner and graduated in '88. Just a great class. I'm still friends with a bunch of those guys. Went to University of South Carolina, and at that time Coastal was part of it. So I finished at Coastal, and then went to law school at Regent, which is in Virginia Beach. But a lot of people, that's where the 700 Club is filmed.
Yeah.
That's Pat Robertson's place. Great law school. It was a lot different than, South Carolina, or all of the horror stories you would hear about people competing. All your classmates were there to help, which is crazy. That's the kind of law school that I went through, and I absolutely enjoyed it, but it was tough. But when I graduated there from law school, I took the bar, and then I went to work with, he's passed on now, but Judge Sidney Floyd.
Okay.
And he only kept clerks for 1 year. Mm-hmm. So he said, he called me in there one day. He said, "Jimbo, what's your plans going forward?" I said, "I don't know. I mean, we got until August." He said, "Well, have you ever thought about working at the solicitor's office?" Mm-hmm. I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." He said, "Well, have you talked with then Solicitor Ralph Wilson?" I said, "No, sir." He said, "Well, you've got an interview today." I said, "Well, when today?" He said, "Now. When you get up, you go over there and talk with Ralph. You need to go over there and work for a few years and learn how to try cases, and then you need to go into private practice." So I walked over and I talked with Solicitor Wilson, and that was in, say, I got hired in August, and then Ralph lost to Senator Hembry in the November election. I mean, I've had a job for maybe 2 months, and I'm thinking, oh man, Greg, which I didn't know him at the time, but he's about to fire me, last one on, first one gone, and all of that stuff.
Well, that had to be, that 2 months, that had to be.
It was scary.
Yeah, it was something.
Yeah, it was scary. And I had...
Was that your first introduction to politics, to say, or campaigns? Or
No, you wouldn't know this about me, but I was actually a student body vice president at Aner High School.
So you always kind of,
but that was my first real introduction into politics. I had every bad thought imaginable. Greg's fixing to fire me. The last time I saw him, it was at the Harvest Hoedown Parade, and I had on my Ralph shirt, but he didn't. He kept me on, and Greg made me his deputy, many years later in 2010. So I was the chief deputy at that point. Then when he got ready to run for Senate, which was in 2012, that first real election for me was one vote, and that was the governor's vote. And that was, because the governor appoints.
Okay, yep.
And that was in 2012. But then you had to have her appointment. It was Governor Haley. And then I had to run in 2014, 2018, 2022.
Working there, did you know that was your place? Did you love it? I mean,
I loved it. I've loved every day of going to work. I have enjoyed it. You can really help those that need a second chance, which we've got a lot of drug addicts and a lot of people that could benefit from drug court or from something which doesn't spot up their record. Mm-hmm. You can help those people, but you can also, and more importantly, if you've got a victim of a crime, you are meeting these people at the worst possible time. They've lost a loved one, or their child has been abused, or something really bad has happened. Mm-hmm. So you can really affect their lives. You can touch their lives in unique ways that we just can't do, walking around. But as solicitor, you get to help all of those guys too. Mm-hmm. So that has been a real blessing. And we've done a lot of that. We get approximately 10,000 warrants a year in Autry. Mm. And, that doesn't necessarily mean 10,000 defendants, but that's a lot of felony warrants. Mm-hmm. And when Greg was here, we were a good bit smaller as a county, but a bad year would be 5,500 warrants, and a good year would be about 5,000. Mm-hmm. So that's almost doubled, mm-hmm. but the population is almost doubled.
Yeah. You in the solicitor's office, there was times you were in the courthouse actually doing the work, Do you miss that? Do you get to do a lot of that today, or are you more managing your office as the solicitor?
So, Autry, I thought when I took over, I said, I'm going to do things a little differently.
Yeah.
I'm going to maintain a caseload, and I'm going to stay involved. But pretty quickly you learn I can't do all of that plus what Greg was doing. Mm-hmm. So I've got fantastic people. Okay. It would shock you how good our employees are. They're really, really good. And they can handle it. And I do still touch every case that there's a loss of life. And sit down and talk with whoever I'm going to assign that to make sure that they understand the importance of what's going on. Mm-hmm. So the only cases that I try now are those death penalty cases. And that will be, we've just filed to seek the death penalty against Brandon Council, the Crestcom Bank murders. Those are the ones that he had already been found guilty in federal court.
Tell us about that, because didn't he get pardoned?
He got his. It's a great question. It wasn't a pardon; it was a commutation.
Okay.
So instead of them letting him out of prison, they said, "We're going to convert your sentence from death penalty to life imprisonment without possibility of parole."
Okay.
So it didn't go to the same extent that a pardon would, where you just simply walk out, but it changed it from...
And forgive me, I probably used the wrong terminology.
No,
there.
Everybody does, because they are cousins. Yeah. Commutation and pardon are cousins. So everybody uses that, and that's how they think of it, but he's not getting out. He's in federal prison today, and when we bring him over for hearings, we have to work through the federal government to get him delivered to Conway.
But your office is going to have the opportunity to give him a death sentence again, Jimmy? Is that what
Yeah, we'll get to try him again, and we've served him with that notice. We've made sure that he's got attorneys appointed to represent him, and we have worked a small amount with our federal partners as far as transportation. So we've done all that initial work, and somewhere hopefully within the next year and a half, we will be able to have an actual trial in Conway to say why we believe that he should get the death penalty instead of life imprisonment.
So make sure I understand this. So on death penalty, you're at the desk prosecuting the trial.
Yeah, me and Scott Hickson.
Scott Hickson.
And Scott is my chief deputy. He's from Georgetown, but he comes to the office there in Conway, and he is just a brilliant mind. We've tried the last 2 or 3 death penalties. It's just been me and Scott. So yeah. He's helping, and George DeBusk is helping with that case also.
Yeah. You know, I recently interviewed Dick Harpootlian, was a solicitor, Greg Hembry, and now yourself. And I've asked those two, and I'll ask you the same question. Knowing you, Jimmy, I mean, you're a family man, you're a community man, you're everywhere. How do you weigh that? You're prosecuting a death penalty case. I imagine your mind, you're in evidence, preparing. Then you go home and have dinner with your family. How do you process those two things? Can you turn it off? How do you go from the heavy, dark things of life to a family man?
Well, I don't know what Dick's answer was or Greg's, but I can tell you that, and I'm fine with this. I still feel the gravity of it. I still ache with the victims. It's emotional, and you know they've lost everything. So that part you don't turn off.
Yeah.
I mean, but to justify it in my mind, if I'm doing the right thing at the right time and I'm doing everything in my power to help them, then I can leave the rest of it up to the Lord and to the judicial system. As long as I know that I've done as much as I can do, then the result is just going to have to be what the result is. I don't go back and tell Sheila, we don't discuss what goes on at work. My son, too, is in law school, and he'll ask stuff from time to time, and if he does, I'll answer it, but I don't get deep in discussion about those sort of things. But you don't just turn it off.
Yeah.
You don't just leave it at work, because it's a pretty heavy thing. But you're doing the right thing, and you're trying as hard as you can. And as long as you're doing that, I can live with the result. I could not live with the results if I'd known that I just gave a half effort.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But as long as I know I've done everything I know to do, and when I took over for Greg, when you had the stump, this is really important to me. But I always said I'm not going to make a lot of promises, but I'll promise that nobody is going to outwork me, and that I'm going to return every call, and that I will be transparent regardless of what happens, and that I'm not going to embarrass you. And that's it. I didn't promise particular results, but I just, before coming here, I went to the Rotary, and Autry, it's crazy what you look through. But during the course of a year, if somebody asked me what happened last year, it's just like boom, 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 boom. But man, we had the Nacho Hippo case last year. We had the coroner's case. The Lafrida Todd and that Nacho Hippo, she got 36 years. She was convicted. We took down whole gangs last year right here.
Wait a minute, we got gangs in Horry County. I think our listeners.
Yeah, and they're usually very young, and it's any place, whether it's Horry or Florence or Topeka, Kansas, anytime you have a breakdown of the home, something's going to fill that place. And unfortunately, it's not going to be as good as what God had created with the family dynamics. And bad guys come in and take those leadership roles on, and that's what we call a gang. So we've got gangs, and some of them are more violent than other ones. And this last one that we finished up taking out, it was called the Jump Out Gang. Now they're still JOG, but they're still around, but all of the leadership is in prison now. And it was an armed robbery here or a drug sale there. And we got all of those taken care of, and the last of which was in 2025. That was a big thing. Randy Barnhill was serial rapist that was a cold case from maybe 15 years ago. And because of changes in technology, we were able to convict him. And but when you start looking at what we did last year alone, it was like half dozen to 15 just life without parole cases. I mean, huge cases. And like we've already discussed, the death penalty case that we just sent notice of at the end of last year. So there's a lot that went on last year, and a lot of it picked up like national coverage. That coroner case, I was told today at the Rotary Club that Netflix had already started with their stuff on that. But when you look at it over the course of 12 months, it's like, gosh, that, it's pretty incredible. And we reduced the backlog. We moved right at 12,000 cases, and last year we brought in about 9,500. So we reduced the backlog in Horry and Georgetown by 1,500 cases. And already we were not anywhere near, we were at the bottom of that list. So that ain't on me, but the guys that are that I've hired as prosecutors and as secretaries and as victim advocates, they just do amazing work coming in, and it's a calling. Because they could do probably a lot better in private practice, but something about it, and Greg talked about it, but when it gets in your blood, it is it's hard to shake.
Jimmy, do you see crime going down in Horry County, maintaining, or going up?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
It is and with so many questions, it's not a very simple answer.
Yeah.
If you look at the statistics, it is plummeting. Crime is plummeting. But here's what's happening. We're doing better than what we deserve, and that's why it looks like it's plummeting. But the prior figures, and what they do is they base it on per 10,000. So we have had growth at about 18% every year. I mean, fastest growing place in America. And when you grow at 18%, you're basically doubling in population size every 5 years. And the people that are coming in are usually retirees. So they're really good people. Our criminals aren't growing at anywhere near that rate. They're the same guys that are constantly doing something. So when you add a lot of water to a little bit of tea, it dilutes it. So we are basically getting the same number of cases from Myrtle Beach, from Conway, from Horry County that we always have. But it looks like it's plummeting because it's based on per 10,000.
That makes sense.
So, it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of work to do, but it hasn't grown at the rates that people are coming in.
I got you. I appreciate you answering that. The next question I got is, and you might be able to speak to this, you might not, but the Spivey Boyd cage on the north end. And the reason why I bring it up, a lot of people in our county are talking about it. What can you tell us some thoughts, or just where it's at, or anything on that, just from your...
Yeah. So it really revolves around it's road rage. Last week we had another road rage where a young man lost his life. It is one of those that before the first report ever came in, so I can honestly tell you I've never seen the first report. I sent that to the Attorney General's office. And we only send about maybe 5 cases a year out of those 10,000. But I'm telling you, I was thankful every day to wake up and say, I had the good sense to send that out.
What makes you make that decision?
Well, what happened with that case is while it was still being investigated, one of the litigants in it, actually Boyd, had made a post saying thank you to the solicitor's office, thank you to, in most cases the person is arrested almost immediately, but while it was still going on, he had made that post, and I said, you know what, with that, I do believe that I could be fair and that I could look at all of, as it come in, look at all of the stuff. But this is going to be better coming from somewhere in Columbia or somewhere in Spartanburg or somewhere in Greenville where they are removed from the case more than we are here. So we asked, and I told the AG's office, I wrote them and told them, you know, this is what I'm seeing. I released that to the media, the letter, but somebody over here needs to make the call.
Yeah.
And to be quite honest with you, I handle cases that the Attorney General sends and says, this is too close for us, will you handle this case for us? And yeah, fine, that's part of the, you know, you can make it as well in Columbia, but I don't know any of these people, so I'll be glad to make the call.
So I think just out of fairness and the right decision, you made it, you know, being our good solicitor, you made that call. Yeah.
I don't want to be in a spot where anybody is ever uncomfortable with the system.
Yeah.
So let somebody else, and once I sent it, they didn't send me any of the paperwork to look at or anything to review or any of the statements. So that got taken up, and I do now stand your ground. We have those hearings almost in every murder case because once it passed in 2006, it makes defense attorneys basically do a mini trial, asking the judge to block us from being able to go forward. So it is used against us quite a bit, but we're usually successful in defending the stand your ground.
And a follow-up question for that, and I must say I asked Greg the same thing from a solicitor's mindset, knowing law enforcement. We stand with law enforcement, policemen. Yeah. We got two systems, two police departments in our county, Autry County Police, Sheriff's Department. In light of that, there's been a lot of chatter's good, bad, middle, indifference, all over. Do you think that we would be better served to have it under the sheriff, or do you like the two department system we have now? Only one in our county and the state that has this.
It is, and I think that there are benefits to both sides. And in other states, they do have a county police and a sheriff's office. So it's unique to South Carolina. It's not unique around the East Coast. It's probably more prominent. I like the fact that if it were all under the sheriff's office, you would have one person to get mad at. You know, if I don't like what Sheriff Philip Thompson's doing, I can go and I can address it with him, and then I can vote my conscience when it comes time to vote, and we can put someone else in there. That could be used in a bad way also. So there's good and bad with all of it. There's no 100%. I think for the most part, the county police has served us well. it basically started in the 50s over a dispute. The really good stuff about putting it all under one person is you cut out a lot of bureaucracy. You probably cut out some duplication of services, which may save us some money. They voted on it in '98 and I think again in the mid-2000s, and they voted against it. But it may very well, I would say, put it on the ballot. And if people want to go under the sheriff, then that's fine by me.
Yeah, I got you. And on that same subject, and you mentioned it, we had another shooting, road rage. Jimmy, it just seems like our country and everything, everybody is so elevated with their feelings and stuff, and seeing the things you do, that can lead to bad things. You got any thoughts on that?
I really do. There was a time, and I'm a little bit older than you, but there was a time that we got out there and if somebody said something, then there was a fight. And that was the worst thing that was going to happen, is you're going to get a tooth loosened or a black eye. But it's become way too easy to grab a gun and not have anything in it. And I think our parents did a pretty good job of teaching us conflict resolution. There's no doubt that if you want to have a bad day, do a lot of driving, because somebody is not going to be paying attention. Somebody is going to dent your fender, and yes, a natural reaction to that is to get angry. The problem's not with getting angry. It's how do I resolve this? How do I, now, yes, I'm going to have to go down to ABC collision place, and I'm going to be without a car and my insurance. But all of that is that, man. And murder or killing somebody is this. Even if you're justified in doing it, you don't want that on you. So I tell Rotary clubs and Kiwanis all the time, I know you're kind of joking in a way, but when you start off from the idea, can I kill a person if, man, don't even think about that.
Oh, that's bad.
You don't want what you think you want. Because you got to suffer with that, even if you're justified in doing it. We shouldn't want to hurt each other. We shouldn't start off with that mindset. And yes, you can be frustrating, and I can be frustrating. Just sit in your car, stay cool, let it calm down, and I promise you, you're going to be better off than, even if you've got a right to do it. It doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do.
Cooler heads prevail. Jimmy, we're out of time. You got to come back.
I'd love to.
Thank you so much, buddy, for your service.
Appreciate you.
Folks, come back. Jimmy Richardson, he's putting bad guys in jail. And thank you for listening today, watching today. We'll see you next time.